So, yeah, this is the first stream from Nashville, technically in Lebanon. I think the first thing I'll do is just kind of give a brief overview for anybody who hasn't been up to date on like my channel or anything like that. Yeah, I am now currently in Nashville, and I just moved in within a week or so ago. As you can see, not everything is perfectly set up right now. There's always this like weird in-between spot of like unpacking, but also like I'm uncertain of like how long I'm gonna stay in this exact spot. So that also kind of contributes to that a little bit, but I'll show you a brief breakdown of what the actual move looked like. If we go here, this is the route that I took. So this was 36 hours of driving in total. It was 5 days of driving for, I want to say like 8 hours on average, which the funny thing is at some point, everything starts to become the same. Like you end up not seeing 2 hours as 2 hours anymore. You start seeing 2 hours is like 20 minutes, which is like a weird phenomenon that I guess you only get when you've been like driving for like a super long amount of time. Day one was Olympia to Spokane. Thank you, Joshua Krell, for letting me stay at your place. That actually helped out a lot. But yeah, then day two was Spokane to Billings, went through Montana. Day three was Billings to Chamberlain, which is actually a really, really nice small town. If you have a chance to stop there, I'd suggest it because it's like really fun, kind of in the middle of the nowhere. But then yeah, day after that was Chamberlain down to, I didn't go to St. Louis, I went to Columbia, and then it was Columbia down to where I'm at in Lebanon, which is a thing that I didn't realize until I moved here, is that most people, when they say they're in Nashville, they're not actually in Nashville. They're in like some of the areas around Nashville. So I kind of chose to temporarily live a little bit farther out here this way, just so that there was like a place to land. But eventually I will be moving like closer to this area here. I think the main advice that I would give to people who are like producers who are thinking of doing the move is first of all, understand that you're probably not going to be able to find a spot like ahead of time. Like you're probably going to be on Facebook groups, sort of like renting websites to try to like find a room, and you're probably not going to be able to find a room that early ahead of time. I was talking with somebody who's been here for like 10 plus years, and they're like, I have never signed a lease for a place without moving in like 2 weeks before, because it's just such a fast moving town, and it's growing so big population wise that it's really it's really hard to like gauge where you're gonna live when you're like not here. So like if you're trying to move here and you're over here, it's like not possible for you to like plan a move ahead of time. You're gonna have to just kind of do it and figure out where you're gonna live after the fact. So what I would recommend for anybody who's planning on making a similar move is literally like, if you think you're gonna like live in an area that's like closer to, you know, central Nashville, get some kind of place out here or farther down here or up here, even like Gallatin area, and just like find a place that you can land, but you probably won't be staying in long term, just because the only way you're going to be able to get like good spots that are actually kind of close to town is if you are like here in town, maybe 30-40 minutes of driving away from it. You know, the benefit of that is if you have something that pops up in this area here that's exactly what you're looking for, then you can jump on that in like a couple of days. And that's like how quickly stuff goes. I would also probably say get rid of most of the stuff that you have. I have a pretty decent amount of stuff, and this is after getting rid of, I want to say like 60 to 40% of everything that I own. There's still a lot of stuff, and you'll find out really quickly. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I don't need anything beyond like these few categories of things, like the stuff I need to do my job, personal belongings or things like that, and then like survival stuff, which is like clothes and hygiene stuff. So it's like stay in like those lanes, and then be like, is anything absolutely necessary in those categories? And if it's not, or if you can like buy it again down here, strongly consider just like not bringing it with you. The thing that people talked to me a lot about when I was doing this move was sort of the moving pods. And I had some people ask like, well, why didn't you just like, you know, get something like this, like a moving pod where you can like load all your stuff into it, or like even a U-Haul or something like that. And And the thing that I kept running into was, first of all, these can be cheap. They can also be crazy expensive, because when they're planning to move a lot of these pods across the country, like they get them in these like caravan things on trailers, they have to move them in a caravan across the country. So if you're here in Washington, you need to like get a caravan that's already kind of moving in this direction. And if you find some that are like already kind of moving in that direction, you can get them pretty cheap. You can get them for like, $1,200 or something like that. If you don't have a caravan that's already kind of moving in that direction around the time that you're planning on moving, it could easily get up to $6,000. It's stupid, but like that's how much the price varies. And you can't get like a direct quote from them most of the time. They try to obfuscate the exact amount that it would like cost for you to move. But I think the other part that's like a little bit more difficult is they try to ask you like, well, where are you going to be moving? Like they won't give you the actual like quote until you have like a place that you're landing and you give them that address. And that's hard too, because you like I said, you most likely don't have like a specific spot that you're landing in. So it's kind of hard to get like a direct quote or a number from them. And again, all of this is assuming that you do this like ahead of time, which, you probably are not going to be able to do it ahead of time. And then U-Haul's kind of run into the same problem where rates are a little bit more flexible and weird. But I think the bigger thing that you run into with a U-Haul, and I've talked to several people who have moved from Washington, where I lived, to Nashville, and they said that the thing that they constantly run into is the price of a U-Haul worth the cost of everything we're going to be putting into it? Because what you realize is a lot of the things that take up space in a U-Haul are either like mementos that you don't really need, or furniture that's kind of replaceable, or some other thing where it's like, okay, besides what we can fit in a suitcase and like a few boxes, like we don't need to take all of this with us. And that's kind of what you run into with a U-Haul, is like the answer just ends up being get rid of most of your stuff anyway. So that was most of my moving experience. Something that's kind of interesting about being in the Pacific Northwest your whole life and then moving to a place that's like the South is there's a lot of things that I don't know how to describe it other than they feel like fake brands. Like if I pull up like Publix here, for anybody who's like in the South, Publix is just like a thing that is a part of life. It's just a grocery store, like whatever, big deal. But like I've never seen a Publix until like a week ago. So to me, it kind of feels like this almost like fake brand. Like same thing with Kroger. I know that Kroger is like the same as, I think it's like Safeway or something like that. But for me, a Kroger, it feels like almost like a GTA like grocery store. Like it's a fake name and it doesn't really mean anything. There's like weird like cultural stuff like that. I would say another thing that has been a big wake up call is Nashville people are crazy drivers. I know there was a reputation I heard of for Nashville drivers, but they are actually kind of insane. I have seen some GTA level moves in the past week of being here that I've never seen before anywhere else. There was one where it was like I was in 5 lanes of traffic driving, and keep in mind this is after a week of driving nonstop for 8 hours. Like I've seen driving almost all across the country, and the second, like the day I get into Nashville, I'm in like 5 lanes of traffic, and some dude realized he missed his exit or was about to, and he didn't even like merge to like start going the right direction. He literally just like turned and did like a 90-degree like on the freeway across 5 lanes of traffic, and just yeah, I'm normally a pretty defensive driver, so that makes it a little bit easier. The amount of weird stuff that I've seen like that in like the past few days is kind of insane.